A young boy experiences a horrifying vision in a public restroom. And then we travel to Thailand to take a look at the story of a mythical fruit. But this fruit isn't packed full of antioxidants. This fruit isn't the tastiest thing on the planet. No. Well, it could actually have those two things, but that is not why it is remarkable. In Thailand, there are stories of a fruit tree that bears a fruit so beautiful, it's so sexy. If you see it, you can't stop yourself from having sex with it. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys are having tons of fun. Just a quick reminder, we have today's episode, tomorrow's episode, and those are the last of the official new episodes. After that, we're going to run Dead Rabbit Radio Classics for a while. That's like a director's commentary version of the show. After those, we'll be doing the Retro Rabbits, which are reruns. And the show will resume August 14th. It'll be almost an entire month I will be on vacation. So, sorry about that. I tried recording more stuff, but things didn't work out. But someone who always works out, someone who works out non-stop, more muscle than man, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for the buff, the strong, the mighty, Leo. Woohoo, yeah, yeah, he's all walking on in. He's just kind of rolling. He has so many muscles, he can't even move his thighs. He's just rolling around on the ground. What's up, Leo? Leo made a very, very generous donation during the Dead Rabbit Radio live stream special. That is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot of this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the Patreon or the merch store, it's totally fine. It really is. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. Now, Leo, I gotta apologize right off the bat. Right? I gotta apologize right off the bat. You kinda walked in at a weird time. Because let's just go ahead and get started, Leo. You'll understand in a second. Let's go ahead and go classic. I'm gonna toss you the keys to the Jason Jalopy. Everyone climb on board. As Leo fires this bad boy up, everyone climb on board this rickety old chitty chitty bang bang car as we leave behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Leo, why don't you drive us all the way out to Epstein's Island? He's like, damn it. He's like, oh, I lost the keys, Jason. We can't go. I guess you'll just have to tell the story here. Fire it up. This was not on the docket for me to talk about. I hope I get to the two stories that I did plan on. You're like, Jason, this might be bad planning. Story about a kid in a public restroom and people having sex with fruits. Did I hear that correct? Yeah. I mean, normally those would be a good stories to pair up, but now we're going to have to throw this Epstein nonsense into the beginning, so it'll probably sour the rest of the show. You're like, oh yeah, that'd be funny, a guy having sex with a fruit tree, but can't stop thinking about Epstein and all that nonsense. Listen, man, here's the thing. That news just dropped yesterday, the way the recording schedule works. Now, I don't want to talk about this forever, right? Because I honestly could probably talk about this for 2 hours. One, I don't have all the notes I would want to talk like that. But two, I really don't want to right now. Because here, this is what pisses me off about the whole thing. And let me actually do a little setup here. The Epstein investigation is over. It's done. The federal government is no longer going to look into whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was A, trafficking underage girls to high-profile business people and celebrities and the wealthy and all of that. That is done. They are no longer looking into any human trafficking whatsoever involving Jeffrey Epstein. And two, these were the big things about the Jeffrey Epstein situation. And two, was Jeffrey Epstein working for other government or our government and blackmailing people, getting footage of mega wealthy people, politically powerful people, celebrities, all of this stuff, getting them in compromising positions, having the footage, and then using that to leverage power over that person? Those are always the two big conspiratorial questions about Jeffrey Epstein, outside of, did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself? That was kind of the more meme conspiracy. And a lot of people believe he did not kill himself. A lot of people say he was executed. That was the main conspiracy theory. But when you step to, and I'm not discounting that. I personally believe he probably killed himself. But I'm not sold either way. And I'll say this. When the government releases video footage, like they did the other day, with a minute missing from it, right? I mean, it's like, what do you expect people to think? I've said before on the show, I think he killed himself. I'm not 100% married to that proposition. I could be swayed to he was murdered. I think my theory was this. He was murdered in the way someone said, you need to kill yourself or worse things are going to happen. I think he took his own life. Whether or not he was threatened to do so? Probably. Right? We did an episode on it because I found like his private blog or like his small business blog. And it was really the blog of a sad, lonely man. And this was before he was arrested the second time. It was very interesting to read the blog of someone who is extremely wealthy, but no one will comment on his posts. Really weird. I'll put all this stuff in the show notes. But, to me, I figured if he killed himself because he was forced to, or someone, which would be the easiest way to do it. Say, listen, you can kill yourself in your cell. We'll actually make sure the guards are sleeping or whatever. We'll tell them. I mean, obviously, so much conspiratorial stuff going on, but that's way easier than sending someone in to kill someone and then leaving. And you basically set the terms like, if you don't do this, it's going to be 1,000 times worse for you, or we're going to hurt people you care about on the outside or all that stuff. Anyways, whether or not he killed himself was kind of the final point of that conspiracy theory. To me, the more important part was he a sex trafficker? Was him and Ghislaine Maxwell procuring girls, young girls, to then be given or rented or sold to other wealthy child molesters, sex addicts, whatever term you want to use, perverts? And the second one was he inviting people over to his multiple estates? No one can say how he made his money. He was extremely wealthy. And no one can... See, that's the thing with the story. They can't answer these questions. These questions... So what the federal government's saying is, no, he wasn't a sex trafficker. And I was like, but what about Ghislaine Maxwell? I've spent the last day looking at her charges. I shouldn't say. It wasn't 24 hours. It was just a little bit of time. But Ghislaine Maxwell, I go, well, wasn't she convicted of sex trafficking? She was. Sex trafficking solely to Jeffrey Epstein. She was not charged with sex trafficking to anybody else. I was reading through the documents and they're like, she procured these girls as young as 14 and brought them to Jeffrey Epstein's residence and watched and then got those girls, because they can only get one girl at a time. They got some of their victims, paid them to go out and find other girls, and it became this little network. But she was only charged with sexually trafficking people for her and Jeffrey Epstein. So that was interesting. I thought that it was broader than that. No, she was never charged with any of that stuff. Well, I mean, she was charged and found guilty of sex trafficking, but not like sex trafficking to other people. Now, I see I'm already getting off point, but basically the government says Jeffrey Epstein did not engage in sex trafficking of young girls to anyone else but himself. That investigation is over. There is no client list. There is no list of people that were paying Jeffrey Epstein to have sex with young girls. It doesn't exist. The federal government is saying that now. And what that totally reminds me of, and it really pisses me off, so what are the people who have been held accountable for this whole thing right now? Jeffrey Epstein, he was arrested, and he died in custody. Ghislaine Maxwell, she was arrested, she's in prison for like 20 years. So you go, okay, those two people are the people who have been caught, and the government says that those are the only two people involved in the situation. Remember Prince Andrew? Prince Andrew, British prince, was connected to all this stuff. He was shacking up with that young girl, what was it, Virginia Giuffre, who recently died. She died, 3 weeks ago? Her liver gave out, her kidneys gave out, and she died. Convenient timing, right? So Prince Andrew got caught up in all of that. He ended up basically being kicked out of the royal family. He had to like move off the premises and stuff like that, and he lost all of this stuff. So now the federal government has to say, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. They didn't traffic to anyone but one dude that we already know about. What this reminds me of, like, there's a ton of different things I can say about this, but what this reminds me of, and it's so corrupt, is whenever any major corporation does something criminal or morally wrong, it creates rot throughout the entire system. But what happens is, one or two people go to jail, or lose their jobs, or get fined, or whatever it is, and the company goes, well, you know, most of us didn't know what was going on. It was just these two people. It was the chief financial officer and this other guy who was facilitating this fraud. We didn't know about it. And sometimes it's with a whole system, right? You can have, what was the whole thing with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the whole idea of the housing bubble, where loans were being subsidized and given to people who could never pay back that loan. And it caused a mass recession. It caused a bunch of people to lose their homes. It caused all sorts of real estate issues, financial issues. And they go, yeah, these two companies were behind that, so we're going to shut them down and reorganize them. But everything else was totally fine. Everything else was totally above board. This happens all the time in the corporate world. But the rot goes through it all. I worked at Wells Fargo when that happened. I worked at Wells Fargo creating, opening, selling new accounts. I saw it from the inside. The rot was everywhere. Everywhere. The fraud was everywhere. I'm not going to say anything more about that with my lawyer present, but I will say, you can say that these two companies are responsible for this financial collapse. You can say that these two or three people in this business are the ones that are responsible for this huge criminal act or immoral act at the company. But the rot goes everywhere. That's what this is. They're just saying it was just Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They're the only ones who did. They have not mentioned Prince Andrew, as far as I've seen in any of these press conferences. There was no child sex trafficking except for the two people that have already been arrested. That is bullshit. I am sorry, but that is 100% not true. Now, I'm not saying that everyone who flew on the Lolita Express plane to Jeffrey Epstein's island is a child molester. I don't think Matt Groening, who was named to being on the plane, I don't think he's a child molester, right? I don't think Donald Trump or Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton or anyone else who flew on these planes are child molesters because they went to Epstein's island. Epstein was a very, very rich man. He was politically connected. He owned his own island and he knew how to schmooze. He knew how to get to meet people. There's a photo, it pissed me off so much when I saw it. I almost did a whole segment on it, but I thought I'd just be ranting. There's a photo of, it's like this throne in England. It's not the Queen's throne, but it's a fancy throne that you're not supposed to sit in, right? But it's part of this place you can go in this castle. Again, I don't have my notes in front of me. But this seat is supposed to be reserved for royalty. It's not a theme park. It's not this tour guide thing that you go get your picture taken in the seat. This is in England, this is considered a seat that's reserved for royalty. There's a photo of people sitting in that seat, two people sitting in that seat, smiling. Do you know who those two people were? Ghislaine Maxwell and Kevin Spacey. Remember that? Remember all that stuff too with Kevin Spacey? Now, it's obscene. It is obscene, and it's a little ignorant to think we don't know how Jeffrey Epstein made his money. We say he's politically connected. How? He knew how to schmooze with the rich and famous. How? Everyone has money. Having a lot of money among rich people is nothing. But if you can provide something else of value, you can be a king among kings. So how did he have all this access? How did Ghislaine Maxwell have access to go and sit on this throne? Who cares that she's rich? Now, here's the thing. I thought this just goes to show how much of this Jeffrey Epstein stuff, how deep does it go? Or is this just all a coincidence? Is he just a really fun guy to hang out with, and that's why mega rich people want to fly on his plane to Epstein's Island? I guess I should say, too, I don't think everyone who flew on Lolita Express to Epstein Island was a child molester, but I guess at this point, I can't say that they're not either. I would like to think that presidents of the United States are above that. I would like to think that there are people who are, when presented with that option, would be like, nah, I'm good. That's gross. I'm not doing that. I would like to think Matt Groening. You're like, who is that guy? You know Clinton is and Trump is. Who's Matt Groening? He's the guy who created The Simpsons. I would hope that most people, and I do feel like most people, when they're presented in a situation like that, they're like, 14? What? No, I'm Jeff. No, I'm good. Now, you're on his island. It's like you can leave, but it doesn't mean you have to partake either. You just go in the other room and watch television. You're like, oh, you go to turn it on, you're like, oh man, this is really playing Russian roulette. Who knows what this freak has on his DVR? Well, it turns out that's another thing they said that, like just a week ago, Pam Bondi, who is she's the U.S. Attorney General, she commented that they had thousands of videos of Jeffrey Epstein abusing kids. And people were like, what? Like, even people who followed the case closely, they go, well, see, that ties into the blackmail thing. If he has all these videos, are there also videos of other people abusing kids? Did he videotape all this stuff? And now Pam Bondi is saying, no, he didn't blackmail anyone else. There's just videos of him with kids. And then I also heard in a recent comment, she was just saying that, no, it was child porn he downloaded off the internet. Okay, well, I mean, there's a huge difference. They're both gross. But there's a huge difference between the two. In fact, they're two different crimes. Possessing child pornography and manufacturing child pornography. But there's only videos of him, they say. There's no videos of other people molesting kids. It's not like you see a celebrity or you see some rich fat cat Wall Street banker banging a 14-year-old. I was actually surprised. That's the lowest age that Ghislaine Maxwell recruited. That lowest age was 14. They're saying that there was no blackmail operation. They're saying that Jeffrey Epstein didn't work for any private organization or government. He wasn't working for Mossad. He wasn't working for CIA. He wasn't working for any government that was trying to get blackmail material on people. And what is worse blackmail material than footage of you having sex with a kid? Like, that would literally get anyone to do anything. If someone tried to pin you for murder, they'll go, hey, you have to do this or we're going to tell everyone you're a murderer. We're going to plant all this evidence you're a murderer in your house. And it was something you really didn't want to do. It was actually against your core belief system. You'd go, no one will believe it, but fine, I'm not going to do what you say. And they arrest you for murder, and there'd be a lot of people saying, no, he didn't murder that person, and there'd be this... You'd get thrown in prison, because obviously this whole system would be rigged against you, but on the outside, people would be fighting for your release, and they'd remember you as a martyr. Now think about that as someone comes to you, and it's something you don't want to do, it's something completely against your moral code, and they start putting child porn in your house, and they go, here's a video, it's indistinguishable from a deep fake, it's AI, it didn't really happen, but no one will be able to tell, of you having sex with a kid. And we're going to pin this on you unless you do X, Y, and Z. I mean, it's the ultimate blackmail, because then no one will stand up for you. No one will be outside of the prison, you won't have rallies at your court dates, you won't be a martyr, you'll be a pervert. But according to the federal government, Jeffrey Epstein never did this. In fact, probably nobody ever does this. That sounds completely like a made-up scenario Jason made up. That this is not blackmail material at all. This is total, utter bullshit. Whether or not Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, I could go either way. He was an old man facing really life in prison at his age. And he had no friends. He didn't have any friends when he was mega rich. That was another thing. He just seemed to not have any real friends, but he'd show up at all these fancy parties. Why? Money buys you nothing among the rich. You have to have something else. It's just bullshit. You can't tell me that for a decade, for 10 years, he never facilitated any other powerful person to have sex with a kid. He kept them all to himself. Yet he also had millions of dollars that were completely unaccounted for, and he flew through high society to the fact that people would come to him and say, can I go to your island? It's completely ridiculous. This is not the end of it. This, seriously, I think will become JFK-level mythology. Now, you could argue, Jason, you are wrong, and all this stuff that they've said is totally factual. The conspiracy theory was blown out of proportion to begin with. You can totally say that, and I'd be willing to have that conversation with you. Again, I was shocked. I thought Ghislaine Maxwell was charged with running this huge human trafficking organization for all of these clients. I even made a comment on an episode a long time ago. Ghislaine Maxwell was the only person sentenced for human trafficking, but had no clients. And I thought she was just keeping her mouth shut to protect the rich and powerful, which I do think she was. But you could argue, no, she did only have one client. It was Jeffrey Epstein. I'm willing to have the debate. I'm not closed-minded on it at all. But this can't be the end of it. You just can't say this is in an investigation, it's done. But the problem is they have said that. And all sorts of people have 100 different takes on this. I'm extremely disappointed in what I see as utter corruption in the system. But I'm not shocked. I'm disappointed, but I'm not shocked. I honestly believe there was never going to be a full client list revealed. But I have to say, I never thought they'd say, oh no, he didn't do it at all. I guess I didn't expect that. Oh, that crime that he'd been accused of, that Prince Andrew got brought into, but not a single other person on the planet Earth. He never did that. I was like, wait, what? That's what I think is bizarre to me. And the fact that in the past couple months, they'd been saying, oh, we have the client list. Oh, we have these videos of him molesting kids. But listen, I don't want to see any of that stuff. And I figured we would never see the client list. But now to say the client list doesn't even exist, that's completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Millions and millions of Americans are kind of flabbergasted right now. But I even forgot what I was going to say. I don't remember. And I don't want to keep on talking about this too long. I actually wanted to wrap this up. There's one more point I wanted to make, but disappointed. Disappointed, not shocked. All of this stuff. I think for a lot of younger people, this is like, because you thought this list was, here's the thing, and I'll be honest, if the list was revealed, it would completely upend huge swaths of society. I think the list was that notable. It could have been a bunch of hedge fund managers, and the 99% of the list could have been people we didn't even know. But if you had like Bruce Springsteen, if you had Obama and Trump, if you had, Oprah, and they were confirmed clients of Jeffrey Epstein, it would be a they live moment. It'd be that moment where you truly realize, with no doubt in your mind, this isn't a conspiracy theory, you saw the list revealed by the government. It'd be like, wow, we actually are ruled by sick people. I keep getting kind of lost here. I keep kind of going off. So I'm going to wrap it up like this. I do want to cover a Jeffrey Epstein thing, but I'm going to do it when I come back from my break. Super bizarre conspiracy theory about him working at a school. I already know. I wasn't super aware of that. I might have known it at some point. But then there's also almost a question of, was there a bit of predictive programming going on there? Did events at that school actually predict the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and the crimes that he's actually accused of, not the crimes that the government is saying he didn't do? Accused by the American people. It's so aggravating. Absolutely aggravating. But anyways, you know what? I don't want to keep talking about this, but I felt like I did have to speak on it because we'd cover so much Epstein stuff on this show. It would be weird if we didn't address the ending, because that's what this is. This is the ending of the Epstein saga. People will continue to talk about it. People will continue to write books about it, just like they did with JFK, just like they did with all these other conspiracy theories. But the investigation is over. No other administration is going to pick it back up. No one else is ever going to be held accountable. It's over. And that is corruption at its finest. Protecting the wealthy, protecting the powerful. Truly awful people abusing kids like this. Being protected by other wealthy, powerful people. The definition of corruption. The absolute definition of corruption happened the other day. The Epstein investigation is over. It's done. And that's that. Insane. Absolutely insane ending to that whole story. Leo the Lion, I was trying to limit myself to 10 minutes. Took a little bit longer than that. So we're still going to do a second story. I kind of feared that was going to happen. But Leo, I'm also going to have you back for tomorrow's episode. So you get a full episode, not just me going off. And I don't know. I don't like talking about a lot of this stuff pops up in conspiracy theory, child porn, child molesting stuff. Conspiracy theory culture, it pops up a lot in true crime culture. It even pops up a lot in satanic conspiracy theory stuff, like religious conspiracy theory stuff. I come across it all the time. I really, really, really try to cover it just every once in a while. There's more stuff to cover on it, but I'm like, I don't want to be the show that only talks about this stuff. But when you have events like this, you do have to kind of cover it. So, Leo, thank you for being patient and putting up with putting up with that. We'll have you back for tomorrow's episode, but we still got one more story. Leo, I'm going to toss you the keys to the world-famous Carpenter Copter. Everyone climb on board while we leave behind Epstein's Island, not a moment too late. Or early? Is it a moment too early? Is it a moment too late? Whatever, we're off the island. We're leaving behind Epstein's Island. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Thailand? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I recorded all of that you just heard about 5 hours ago. I recorded that, and I'm still super aggravated about the whole situation. I got to do another segment. I don't want to do a whole episode about this nonsense. We're headed all the way out to Thailand. We're about to meet a young boy. He didn't say his real name. We're going to call him Jesse. 10 years old, hanging out in Thailand with his parents. They decided to take a vacation out there. And he goes, so when I tell the story, all I can think about is a stupid press conference. But anyways, let's move on. It just really aggravates me. Jesse is on vacation with his parents. I'm going to focus. Jesse is on vacation with his parents, and they're eating at a restaurant, and they're finishing up, and Jesse is a man after my own heart. I often have to go to the bathroom right after eating. Sometimes I'll have to go to the bathroom while I'm eating, and I was like, oh no, I'm just having so much fun eating this food. I'm all pooping in my pants. They're like, what's that smell? I was like, I don't know. There's a lot of times when I go out, I think most of you guys can agree that when you go out to a public restaurant, you eat a good meal, you have to go to the bathroom afterwards. Like, no, Jason, you might want to get checked for IBS. Maybe next time. You eat a good meal and you're like, oh, you better stop off at the local public restroom, pop a squat. Well, that's Jesse's case. He finishes up and he's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. And his parents are like, okay, are you asking for permission? You're free to go. Yay! So, I mean, this is not like a McDonald's or anything. It's like just a restaurant in Thailand. And there's differences, right? Not just between food, but between the bathrooms. You go to a McDonald's bathroom, most of the time it's clean, outside of the graffiti or the smell. There's usually not a bunch of stuff on the floor, not a bunch of debris you have to navigate. You're like, Jason, you have not been to the McDonald's near my house. I'm pretty sure the health department shut it down. But then you go to a lot of these smaller restaurants, these non-chain restaurants, real restaurants. They always have, while not dirty bathrooms, I won't say the bathrooms are dirty, you never know what to expect when you go in. And to this day, I'm always surprised when I go to a Mexican restaurant and there's only one toilet in the men's room. I was like, this is a Mexican restaurant. You should have at least two. And the worst are the bathrooms, because usually in men's room there's a urinal and a toilet. And that's good enough for a men's restroom. But sometimes at these smaller restaurants, they won't have a urinal. In fact, only one person can be in the room at a time. So you're really waiting out there. And again, I've just eaten Mexican food. So I need to go to the bathroom right now. Right? I need to go right now. And so I'm always perplexed why a Mexican restaurant would only have one toilet in there. It's weird. You should have two. Jason, you've clearly spent a lot of time standing outside men's restrooms at Mexican restaurants. I have. He goes to walk to where the restroom is, and the door's locked. It's one of those restrooms that only has occupancy of one. And he's like, oh, man. He kind of jiggles the knob a bit. He can't get in, locked. He's like, okay, well, we'll just have to wait. I'll have to do what Jason does and wait outside. Whether or not I have to go to the bathroom, I go, I'm going to order my food, then I'm going to go stand next to this restroom door for a while until my food's ready. He has to wait outside the bathroom door. So he does. He knocks on the door. No one answers. Okay, he keeps waiting, knocks on the door a bit. No answer. Okay, Dog shows up. He's like, oh, maybe it's a dog in there using the bathroom. Knocks on the door, waits a little longer, knocks on the door. There's no response coming from within the bathroom. And he's 10 years old. Did I say that? I said he was a young guy. He's 10 years old. He's knocking on the door. After the first knock, if no one says anything, you just wait silently. Hope for the best. He keeps knocking every once in a while. 10 minutes pass. Every so often he's knocking on the door. No answer. And he's like, oh my God, I really have to go to the bathroom. I don't even know if I can make it to another restroom at this point. Like, if we went into another restaurant, could I sneak in there? I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can make it. Well, at this point, he said this bathroom had an old-fashioned keyhole that was big enough, obviously, for a key. But, because it's old-fashioned, you could look through the keyhole and see into the bathroom. I do not recommend doing this. But he decides to look through the keyhole to see what's going on in there. Because he's been waiting 10 minutes, no one's come out, and he doesn't hear anyone in there. As an adult, you would go to the staff and go, hey, I've been waiting for 10 minutes to use the restroom. Your door might be locked. I keep knocking, no one's in there. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll check it out. Go to someone with a key, basically. And while they're opening the bathroom, go into the kitchen and use the staff toilet. Jesse doesn't do that. He's just kind of waiting outside, and he goes, I'm going to look through the keyhole and see who's in there. I don't know how that would help. He just sees a guy straining, boofing hell hard. He's like, well, to answer that question, a man was pooping in the bathroom. It's not really going to help him. It might give him some additional information. Whether or not he wants it is one thing, but he decides to look through the keyhole, and what he sees is an eyeball staring right back at him. He said the eye was wide open. Which kind of makes sense, right? You're like, well, obviously it wasn't closed. It's just a close-up of some guy's cheek. He has his face pressed against the keyhole. He says the eye was wide open, but was this a human's eyeball? Because he said the eye was deep red, and the eyeball had these little yellow flecks scattered throughout. Jesse thinks this is like a trick of the light. He can't be seeing, so this is not right. Like, this isn't a human eyeball staring at me. So he actually does a double take. He straight up looks away and then looks back, assuming that whatever he's seeing is going to vanish, that this is just his imagination, or he's seeing. But when he looks back, the eyeball is still there staring at him. And at this point, he watched the eyeball blink. Or maybe wink, actually, if you think about it, because you can just see one of them. It's all ding. Either way, he decides that he doesn't have to go to the bathroom anymore. Whether all of his poop... Actually, I don't know if he was pooping or peeing, but if he was peeing, he might have already done it in the hallway, because that'd be terrifying. If it was poop, maybe it got sucked back up into his body. He goes, I didn't have to go to the bathroom. I did have to go to the bathroom. I would have to go to the bathroom soon, but not in there. And he ran back to his parents. And when he got to the table, he really was like, guys, can we leave? Can we leave? He's crossing his legs. He's like, we gotta go, because I gotta go. Why don't you use the restroom? No. I'm not using that. When I first read this story, what I did was I started to go, well, it's in Thailand. I wonder if there's some sort of Thailand cryptid or Thailand spirit that has red eyes. A bathroom spirit or a non-bathroom spirit that has red eyes. So I kind of started looking through some of the folklore over there. Some of the cryptids that are seen over there, spirits and stuff like that. Because we've been to Thailand a couple times on this show. And we're actually going to be doing quite a few coming up. We're going to be visiting Thailand and Singapore for quite a few episodes after the break, after I come back from break, because I found a bunch. I found a bunch of weird cryptids and a bunch of weird ghost stories and all sorts of stuff in Thailand and Singapore and all over the place. Would that all be considered Southeast Asia? While I couldn't find a specific spirit or a specific cryptid that had red eyes that also would be in a restaurant's bathroom, I was hoping I would find some sort of local legend about a spirit with red eyes that hide. I wasn't able to find any that hides in bathrooms or really anywhere urban. I couldn't find anything. I found a bunch of other stuff for future episodes, but I couldn't find anything about this. Someone brought up a creepypasta. You may be familiar with this. That's similar to what Jesse wrote. He posted this online underneath the name Zordman. It's about a guy who looks through a keyhole one day at a hotel and he sees a woman facing a wall. And the next day he looks back through the keyhole and the whole room is red. He can't see anything really. It's just all red. And then he talks to the hotel manager. He's at a hotel. Hotel manager goes, yeah, there used to be an albino woman who lived up there who was murdered and she had red eyes. And some people go, well, one person said, that kind of reminds me of that creepypasta. I don't really think Zordman copied the creepypasta. I'll say this, because I get this question every once in a while. If I believe everything I talk about on this show, I do think that's a valid question. I think there are a lot of content creators and a lot of hosts out there of shows like this. And I think there's a bit of intellectualism going on where they don't want to admit that, because it would come off as sounding gullible. It would come off as sounding kind of goofy or dumb, might be a better word, if you believed in all this stuff. I'm sure there are a lot of hosts who cover stuff that they don't believe in, and they still present it as if it was real because it's a good story. I don't do that. If I cover a story and I'm not openly mocking it, which I've done a lot on this show, which means I think it's fake. If I cover a story, it's either because, one, I believe the story happened 100% the way it's presented, or two, it's very possible. I won't read a story like this and go, that reminds me of a creepypasta, therefore it's entirely fake. That's kind of my take on it. Now, I do not cover a ton of stuff because I think it's fake, even though it's good stories. What was interesting, I was reading this and I go, that's a creepy story, right? It's in the middle of the day, it's at a restaurant, he sees this thing. And then I started thinking, after I kind of go, well, I think it's real. I want to end it with this. It's kind of an open question to you guys. You'll probably be like, we were kind of more distracted by the Epstein stuff. We couldn't really respond to this one. Why is it monsters have red eyes? I mean, there has to be a reason for that. We covered yesterday the story about the giant warthog demon in the house. He had red eyes. I mean, just yesterday we did that. There's tons of stories of creatures with red eyes. Worldwide, creatures, demons, cryptids appearing with red eyes, it's not 100%, but it's fairly common. And my question is, why? As far as a cryptid goes, which are a biological entity, it would have to be an evolutionary trait as to why their eyes were red. Are there animals with red eyes? I'm not talking about like red pupils and irises. I'm talking about the whole thing being red. The whites and the iris and all that stuff, or even part of it, right? I mean, I guess having a red pupil and iris being red, but albinos have those. Or like deep pink. What is it about red eyes that terrifies people? Is it a media construct? Is it a psychological response? Do we see the color red for eyes as being evil? And if so, why? Like, is it because in movies, red eyes would equal like, oh, we know that robot's angry because its eyes are red. But that wouldn't translate to ghost stories and stories of monsters that are 100, 200, 300 years old. Is it because red eyes invoke sort of a fiery, devilish visage? They look like two hot coals in place of where the eyeballs should be, burning brightly in the night. Is it that? Like, does the media, quote-unquote, media construction go farther back before media was even really a thing? When your media was your local shaman? The storyteller of the village? Why is it that red eyes are associated with evil and monsters? I do think it goes farther back than modern horror movies. But how far back? And does it go so far back because it's real? Because that's how, I mean, like, it's a chicken and egg thing. Do monsters have red eyes in real life? And evil spirits have red eyes in real life? And demons have red eyes in real life? And that's why our modern movies have that image? But then the question would be, why red? Like, is it something that we have been told so much is the sign of evil that when we see a spirit, we're seeing, like, now we're getting into the whole Tulpa argument, but we see a spirit and we believe red eyes are evil, so we see red eyes when the eyes could be a different color. That's almost a little too mind-bending. I have baby blue eyes. Why does everyone think I look evil? That's making me mad. It's making me more evil. Do they actually have red eyes? And if they actually have red eyes, why? What is it about the color red that signals evil? You could say, it was the medieval depictions of the devil, but again, this is a worldwide thing. So it would be in parts of the world where you didn't have Renaissance paintings of the devil. And I don't even know if those paintings really had red eyes. But you always hear these stories, I shouldn't say all the time, but you hear them enough that it's notable. Sometimes you'll hear yellow eyes. Sometimes you'll hear just white eyes. And sometimes you'll hear red eyes. You very rarely, if ever, hear about blue eyes or turquoise eyes or green eyes. They appear, I'm sure, somewhere in the literature. I can't think of anything. And if I told you woke up in the middle of the night and you were surrounded by a dozen pairs of white eyes staring out from the darkness, it'd be alarming. But now I said you woke up in the middle of the night and there were dozens of pairs of red eyes staring at you from the darkness. Do you see the psychological difference right away? Even thinking of that myself, I go, I'd much rather have the white eyes. I mean, it's still terrifying. You're still surrounded by an unseen presence. But one denotes a entity that is watching me while I sleep. The other one denotes an evil entity watching me while I sleep. Is it biological encryptids? Is it something that demons have, and that's why we still have these associations to it? And if so, why red eyes? I remember once, and I'll wrap it up like this. I remember once I thought, if we lived on a planet, let's say it's planet Earth just to be clear, but imagine if the sky above us was the exact same color as human blood. Exact same color. And every single day when you woke up and you looked up at the sky, it was not blue with these white fluffy clouds. It was a brightish red, kind of a crimson with clouds. We're still going to have the fluffy clouds. But you had this color in the sky that matched the blood in your own veins. Would that change us as a culture? Would that change us as a people? If our sky was not beautiful, which is the way we look at it, right? It may be different if you grew up underneath a crimson sky every single day, and all your ancestors had as well. But if you looked up at the sky and it was the exact same color as human blood, I think that would affect the culture in a way. I think that would change the way that people viewed violence, and I think it would change the way people viewed blood. I think they would see it as more natural than we do. Welcoming almost. The color of the blue sky is unmatched really anywhere in the world. You can find flowers that look like it, maybe a couple salamanders. The ocean looks like it because it's reflecting the sky. Imagine if you went out to the ocean and it looked like an endless sea of blood. The same blood that's in your veins. Everything else about the planet's exactly the same type of wildlife. It's just the color is different. How would that affect us as a species? Would it make us more prone to violence because we see blood all the time? It's everywhere. You look up in the sky, it's there. You look at the ocean, it's there. You look at a lake, it's there. Would it change us? And the reason why I said that is there something intrinsic about the color red that is diabolical? I don't know the answer to that. I'm looking at my little Optimus Prime statue toy that I have on my desk here, and he has a lot of red. He's pretty cool. He's a cool guy, but it's not blood red either. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting question. I think the question as to whether it would change us as a people, as a species, if the oceans and the skies and the lakes and the rivers are all the same color as human blood, exact same color. Would that change us? And also, a separate question, they're both, I couldn't even possibly give you an answer on that one. I could say, yeah, it'd probably make us more prone to violence. But the second question, I don't think I could give you an answer at all as to why monsters tend to have red eyes. Is it something that the human mind is creating when we're seeing these evil spiritual entities? Our mind is perceiving them as red, as a warning to leave. This is dangerous. You got to get out of here. Do these creatures actually have red eyes? In a total vacuum, if you had never heard a monster story and you looked in through a keyhole and you saw a red eye, or you saw an 8-foot-tall warthog with red eyes, or you saw a creature following you through the woods with red eyes, would you, without ever hearing a monster story, would you go, that is dangerous? That is something that I need to stay away from. If Jesse had looked through this keyhole and it was a beautiful blue eye, I think he wouldn't have run away. Or maybe, right? Because it would be creepy. Why is this person staring at me? Why did he just wink? But yeah, is it something psychological in us? Do these creatures actually have this color eyes? I'm very fascinated by it, by that question. But I will say, at least that got me thinking about that stupid Epstein stuff for a while. Yeah, I got one more story to cover about Epstein, but we're going to wait till after the break. It's a really weird one. I kind of mentioned it in that first segment there. Super bizarre. But, you know, we'll save that. We'll save for that when I'm a little less irritated by the whole thing. But who knows how long that's going to take. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great one.